That's something that I've always been really interested on, like working on my open centers, and especially, I think that's the ego center, right?
Yeah, great. Well, I'm glad that you brought that up because about 65 to 70% of the people on the planet, which is a lot, have it open like this, have it not colored in. And so, and yet on top of that, that you've got these other gates that the 51 is turned on by your Mercury, and the 26 is turned on by your Uranus. And in a way, we could look at the 37 as well, which is over here, and that's your moon, unconscious moon. Um, so when the ego center, the willpower center, most of the Western world is pretty much conditioned to push forward and do it, and the will to do. There's this whole thing about especially in the coaching world and professional development and all that, about keeping your word, and
Yeah.
make your promises and keep your promises. And it's not so easy for people that have an undefined ego. It may be in the moment when they're with other people, or with a client or friends or whatever. And oh yeah, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, and it's like the will to keep pushing is not there. So, some of the traditional human design uh, discussion around the conditioning was to not make promises, to not try to prove yourself. And so what I mean about not making promises, it's, well, in our the world that we live in, and I also, is a high value for me, is to keep our word. So it's like in your words, when you're I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do it. It's just a way of saying, I hear you, you want it by Tuesday, I'll do my best. Just want you to know it might not be there by Tuesday, but I'll do my best. And then that way, if it is ready on Tuesday, great. And if it's not, then you're not going to feel bad, because this is self-esteem is in here. And
Mm.
so there's a lot of conditioning in our society for people to compete, for people to prove themselves, for people to, just do it, just make it happen. And it's not so easy for people that have an open center like that. So there's a lot of um, conditioning, and then now where you're in a stage of deconditioning, of just being aware of, like running into somebody that you went to high school with or college, and the other person has had this fabulous career or a fabulous family, or they just seem to have it all together, and they're telling you how wonderful their life is, and yours is not so great at that moment, and it's like there's a part of you that want to, like, you know, prove yourself, where actually that's not what you're about. It's more about, gosh, I'm really happy for you.
Okay.
And I don't even want to get into this discussion because I know I'm going to feel bad. Right.
Yeah.
So, self esteem, right there, our worth, um, wanting to be loyal, wanting to be, um, for people to be able to count on you. But it's just not always there. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Would you say that with the open center that, or the open ego center, that people with that would struggle more with self-esteem and self-worth? Or just,
Definitely.
yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's so interesting. What sense of self has been, and that's why a lot of what I'm working on building is around that area. That's been a huge theme in my life. So that's, are there any major tips on working with sense of self, self-esteem, and all of
Well,
that?
I think just the awareness that it's not consistent, and that it's connected to willpower, and it's also the heart. Some say, biologically, this is the heart. And
Okay.
so, can people come to a place where I'm not here to prove myself. There's nothing to prove. I'm already worthy.
Hmm.
I'm already, my value is already wired in a different way. Because I have to tell you, coming from someone, I do have a defined ego. And when you have it defined, and I've talked to dozens of people that do as well, it's like we don't feel like it's a big deal. We don't even know that we've got this thing inside of us, but yet, if we've got a big gathering and we got to clean up afterwards and we got to go, we got to have the will to do that work,
Hmm.
because it is about work. It is about being consistent. It also, the ego, if it's defined, it does like to rest. It wants to get something from it. But there
Yeah.
can be a lot of friction in relationships if one person has it colored in and one person doesn't. It's a really big deal in relationships. It's good if you do not have a defined ego like this, is to be with someone else who does not have it. That way there
Oh,
isn't that push pull. But
oh.
just for me in my personal life, raising my son who doesn't have a defined ego, if I would want him to do something, and I would exert my will on him, it would amplify and he would throw it back at me, and then I'm like taken out.
Mm.
So everybody's thinking, oh great, you got a defined ego. Well, only if I'm with other people that have a defined ego is it so great. Because
Yeah.
really have to watch that I don't exert my willpower.
Mm.
So that's a great one to keep flushing out. It's not an easy one. It's not as easy as the emotional center, kind of noticing the wave, and you have that colored in.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is just society or the collective conditioning
Mm.
around exerting our will.
Right. Yeah, I definitely noticed that when my if others exert their will on me, it could be partly me being an Aries, but it's an automatic no. Like I feel a lot of pushback
Yeah.
um, inside when that happens.
Yeah, that's what would happen with my son. It didn't get done.
Oh,
Whatever I was
yeah.
trying to push my will to get done did
Right.
not get done.
Yeah.
It just came right back at me. But it's great questions.